Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, amma ba'd. First of all, I would like to thank the administration, Brother Zahir, for inviting. Weekends is the time that we usually try to give to the families. So alhamdulillah, they're with us here. My daughter is my wife. And we hope, inshallah, I was hoping to benefit from the time and take this time, even personally, selfishly, right, to benefit from you. Because the description of this group at the beginning was that a lot of them are college students, correct? So I would like to have some sort of interactive feedback from you as we go through the topic, and hopefully draw from you a lot of what you've learned. Sometimes we don't realize how much we've learned, over a certain period of time. And coming here and only speaking to you in one direction as a monologue from me to you, I didn't think would do it justice, because I'm pretty sure you have a lot of beneficial things to share as well. So to begin and just kind of give a frame, speaking to Zuhair, there was a question that I asked regarding the preparation of this topic, and it's important because I hope, inshallah, not to make it only theoretical or just something that is mentioned and tries to sound good, and then we leave out of here without anything practical. We want to make this practical, and hopefully that it sticks. And if at least one or two things that we obtain from here we can implement in our daily life, then alhamdulillah, this is quite an achievement. Brother Zuhair suggested something regarding, do you remember, Brother Zuhair? You mentioned certain things. You said something.
Probably making them do work or something like that.
Making them do work. You use the word activism, right? Activism and
Something
what?
like that.
Okay, so he threw out like different things, and I said, yeah, that sounds good. But in the end,
It's not good enough.
in the end, what is meant is that action is needed, right? An activist can be, I guess, defined in many different ways. And I don't mean to say that this is going to be something about activism. You get out there and picket fence signs and things like this, right? Sometimes people envision that that's what an activist is. But in reality, implementing what it is that we collect and what we know is important. And I hope, inshallah, that this is about action, right? Putting what you know into action. And it starts first by understanding our position and trying to understand our field of action, right? Where we're actually going to be benefiting society. And we can look at it from the aspect of community, which is the Muslim community, but in reality we live with so many more human beings, right? In this city, in this life, in this globe, that we should really look at it at a global level. So first and foremost, I wanted to share an ayah that is very profound, where Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Allah Azza wa Jal has asked us and requested and ordered, basically, us to hold fast to the rope, all of you together, in a plural sense. And do not be divided amongst yourselves. This issue of a rope is something very interesting, because when you look at creation and you look at a rope and its uses, all a rope really is a linear collection of different threads, like yarn, right? Or strands. And if you take each one of these threads by themselves, it is very thin and very weak. The threads in a rope, when you look at it, they all are different in some way. Some of them may be slightly different in color. Some of them may be slightly different in its thickness. So a rope really is composed of very thin, different strands that when they come together and they're braided, the more of them that come together, the stronger the resistance of that rope becomes. And buildings such as the one that we're in may have needed a rope, right, for it to be built. There's a lot of construction pulleys, right, that lift a lot of heavy material. When you look at bungee jumping, for example, right, there's some notion of ropes being utilized in different areas, whether in sports and construction, many different things. So when we look at this ayah, and Allah is asking us basically to hold on to the rope, you realize that human beings have been created different. And they've been created not only in different shades, different colors, have different geographical locations where they were born, have different cultures, different languages. That may be external, but when you look at within the individual, it is that much more complex and even diverse. And each individual from one and the other, even when it's twins, they don't share the same fingerprints. They are uniquely built. And human beings together, living out in this life or existence as we know it, can either choose to come together based on a common goal or common interests, or they may actually choose to divide amongst themselves, given that they have different interests or different perspectives or a different vision in regards to what it is that they involve in. When we look at it from the aspect of the community, right, the Muslim community, well, alhamdulillah, we have many times we see communities such as this. I remember whenever this community was just a place in a musalla, right, in a shopping center. And we saw many things happen in the city of Houston, such as the Texas Dawah Convention and many other initiatives, and it was just a group of individuals. Alhamdulillah, it went on to affect the lives of many people. And I'm sure those individuals coming together, even though it was in times where there was great adversity and great challenges that they faced, they somehow tried to do their best in coming together. This is also the same manner or the same way that human beings, whether they're Muslim or not Muslim, may be able to come together. We see great achievements through innovation, and we see companies that are formed by individuals who came together and on common goals, they created something that didn't exist and benefited many people. Thus the use of technology and things like this, right? Someone had to have come up with it, and they had to have built a team. So there is a notion where Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the definition of what real success is and the issue of failure. And this is from the highest realm of the true definition of success and failure. In Surah Ali Imran, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal says, let there arise from amongst you a people or a group inviting to all that which is good, enjoining what is right, and forbidding what is evil or what is wrong. And those people who do this will be successful. So the notion of success is based on the fact that a group of people, right, hopefully you as an individual hope to be amongst them, rise up to an occasion or circumstance that you see and try to become part of the good, if the good is happening, or if something wrong or something decaying society, something that Allah is not pleased with, because anything that is evil or that is wrong on the face of the earth, as a believer, as a believing woman or man, you're able to detect it because you've been given guidance, right? You're able to differentiate. Al-Furqan, you have criteria between right and wrong because of the tools you've been given, the Quran and the Sunnah. So you have some information, so when you know something is wrong, it then becomes binding on the individual who believes in Allah to then stand opposed to that. And we know this from the statement or the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he mentions إِذْ رَأَ مُنْكَرٌ فَيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, if you see an evil, stop it with your hand. Basically act upon it physically, if you're able to. Because not in every circumstance are you able to stand up and do something physically. Sometimes you don't have the proper resources. Sometimes it is not the proper or the best thing to do. If you can't do that, then you should speak out against it. Speaking out against it is not necessarily to come at something from a negative stance or an evil stance. Many times people see a problem, and instead of raising people up to work with them towards a solution, they focus on explaining and detailing and exhorting and talking about the problem itself. And they believe that they're doing the service that this ayah is mentioning, right? Speaking out against the evil. But speaking out against the evil is not to describe it and talk about it. It is to give an alternative and to give some aspect of a solution so that then people will have an option. Because people need some realm of guidance. And as we know, the prophets throughout mankind, they were a people who not only were given the knowledge of their Creator, but they acted upon it. And based on their actions is how people actually were led. Right? They were shepherds beforehand. They were leading sheep. And what does a shepherd do? They try to hold the flock together. Because as we know, the Prophet ﷺ said, the shaitan goes after the lonely sheep. The one that is astray from the flock, the one that's over there by itself, that's the one that is attacked. Same thing for the believer. You have to stand together as a unit and as a flock in order to be strong. If you're alone, there are many notions that will come your way in difficulty to not only continue keeping you alone, but leading to that which is the worst matters in this dunya, to destroy the individual. Success is given to the people who stand up for the good and basically forbid what is wrong. They don't indulge in it, and they in fact become proactive against it. Then Allah mentions in the next ayah, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And do not be, here's the negation here, do not be like those who became divided and different after clear evidence or proof had come to them. And it is those individuals who indulge in this basically that will receive a great punishment. So in one ayah, Allah is asking or mentioning who it is that we need to be a part of and who it is that we need to stay away from or not indulge in this way or go about life in this manner. And with this, we see that the issue of differing and becoming divided is something that is actually a default if an individual does not become part of the first group. So if you're not part of the good, you're not really neutral. You're either, improving or you're decaying. There is no in between. You're either improving or you are being set back. the issue of differing, bickering amongst each other, dividing, happens because many times the individual hasn't found a cause for themselves. They haven't found a great dire need that needs to be filled, hasn't stood up to the occasion of becoming one of the people who either lead based on the fact that no one has done it and it needs to be done, right? So they step up, or that they see a group of individuals filling that need and they know that needs to be filled and they feel so compelled to change that then he or she joins them. If a people do not indulge in the good, then all of a sudden they're going to fall back and then look at the people sometimes even who are trying to do some good and now begin to detail and describe how they're not doing it properly, how they're not doing it right, you see? And it's easy when you look at the issue of sports, right? You have sports commentators and you have the players and then you have the people on the bleachers, right? Who has the hardest or toughest job out of all these three people? The players. Why? Why? Huh? Because they're doing something. They have to act, right? Who gets paid more? The commentators? The players. Okay. So, do you know of any player in any game in sports history who doesn't make a mistake and who doesn't lose? So, you know, there's some cases like in boxing, someone's undefeated and so on, right? And it's the pinnacle, you know, and then all of a sudden they lose. There's certain, you know, nuances here and there, but all in all, you look at a track record of an individual who's done something, and in the end, when they succeed in something, you may see the history books fill in with a sense of accomplishment, right? Or the fact that they achieved something or did something. But very few times do we look at the failures. And great leaders and great people who have done great things, they have a unique perspective as to how they see their achievements. The regular people have seen what they achieved, but when you really listen to them, they actually shared a lot of their joy and a lot of their growth when they actually failed. Because it is in failure that if a person sits and ponders, you actually have the opportunity to improve. Because if you only win and win and win, then, you know, this is like perfection, you know, right? Allah is the only one who is perfect. Allah is Al-Wajal. But for us, we have to be ready to take on failure with a new attitude every single day. And whenever someone's doing anything in life, whether in your professional careers later on, and you realize this, when you go into the work field, what happens is we may look at things in a certain way where our level of experience doesn't allow us to really see what's happening. And I'll give you a personal example. When I graduated from the field of multimedia, I was offered a job as a marketing director in an upscale home builder here in Houston, Texas, called Love and Homes. And the people who owned this place were Chinese. And right out of college, right, for only a month, I'm given now a new position that they've never had. And they didn't even have a computer for me, right? And I have to work on a computer, right, in order to do what I do. They didn't know anything I needed. And yet they said, we need you to, you know, we have these 3 agencies that do all of our design and, you know, everything that has to do with marketing. You're going to start doing it. Okay, that's the wife. Okay, so it's the husband and wife who built this. Their homes go from $400,000 all the way to $3 million. So they were upscale homes. So that's the wife. Your job is going to be to replace all the work that these people do. You're going to be the one to do it. I have no manager, nobody in seniority that has made the necessary mistakes for me to go and ask them when I'm stuck at a mistake, right? And then I thought that was rough, or it was rude even, right? I mean, the first day it's like, look, this is why we hired you. And you know, the manner, sometimes from the Chinese culture, I've never worked with Chinese people before, they were just very straightforward. They say what they mean what they say, and then they just walk away. So I thought that was rude, but then the main, owner actually came, and he pulled up a chair and he sat next to me, and he looked at me, and he said, "What am I paying you for?" This was the welcome, right? And in this level of, it's kind of a challenge, right? It's very intense, intimidating. I had kind of made up my mind on the fact that I wasn't going to work in this place, because I didn't think that the people were of the certain etiquette, that I wanted to spend my time with. When I was almost about to quit because of the pressure, I think the wife, the business owner, she kind of saw that I started sensing that there was going to be a lot of pressure. And she said, listen, if you stick around here, no one has ever come to work with us that hasn't left out of here being about 5 or 6 times more productive than the way that they came in. And so I said, listen, I just don't think that this, job is for one person. David Weekly Homes, other home builders that I knew, they have 10, 12 people on staff in this department. You want one individual to do it. She said, we will always only have one individual. So basically, it's either you or someone else. But that's the way it is, right? Alhamdulillah, I stuck around. And this was actually in the midst of my establishment of my deen, because I was a new Muslim. And it was really interesting to see that the challenge of being, a professional in the workforce, let's say, corporate America, and now taking on a whole new identity of Islam, right? I remember I used to sneak out and pray in the staircase. And I was hoping no one would open the staircase, that they would just go up and down, on the elevators. Because if they opened the staircase, I was right there. And this was very recent after September 11th. So, working with Chinese people, they were Buddhists, right? It's not even dealing with the people of the book. So, I remember I had an option and I had the ability either to become an individual that could exhort what the etiquette of a Muslim really is, or I could waver and just kind of blend in and not let anyone know. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jal says, who is it? Who is better? Right? Who is it that could be better? Right? In speech than the one who invites to Allah and does righteous deeds. Not just talks about it, but does it. Right? And says, without a doubt, indeed, with a surety, I'm from amongst the Muslims. I remember one etiquette I did not appreciate working there. This individual had, according to my culture, right, being from Colombia, South America, we're used to saying good morning, good afternoon when we walk in and out of places. That's just a culture. You don't know someone, you walk in a store, you say good afternoon. That's just the way it is. It was hard for me to see that this man, even though he was Chinese, he was about 6'4", very big man. I mean, he was very intimidated. He would intimidate. So he would walk past people, right, very early in the morning, not make any eye contact, not look at them, and he would just walk in and out of places, and everyone would just like freeze when he would come, or just start working. Like he intimidated people to work like this. And so I remember I used to pass by him, and I could just sense like he wanted to see what my reaction would be, because it's as if people were in a sense of like, they have fear, right? And his wife portrayed that most beyond anyone. And she was in a position of leadership. So when he spoke to her in a certain way, and everyone knows that's the husband and the wife, and the husband's telling her things, but it's about getting things done, everyone had to execute, including her. So I remember one day he came and he tried to intimidate me, and I said, let me tell you something. I want to share this with you. I said, I've seen the way that you go in and out of places and how you talk to people. I want to ask you for a favor. How about your relationship and my relationship be different? How about when I see you, I'm going to say how you doing? How about you return that back to me? Because in the work that I'm doing, I need to make sure that we see eye to eye. I'm trying to help you sell these homes, you're making these homes. I need to be able to feel a sense of confidence. And sometimes I feel like, you're coming based on what you want, and that kind of makes me uneasy. And he just smiled, it was hard for him to smile. He smiled, And subhanAllah, after that, he gained a sense of respect. And I think he used to pull me in his office and we were very open and could talk. And then I started driving the guy around, to meetings. And he asked me if I was from a specific religion. Are you from a certain religion? And I said, yeah. I said, do you know what it is? He said, no, I've been trying to figure that out. Right? I said, I'm Muslim. You're Muslim, but you're from Colombia. Aren't you from Colombia? Yeah, but I'm Muslim. And so he sat back. And subhanAllah, the 3 years that I worked there, his wife and himself would make it a point to ask about Islam all the time. I remember he was a very bright man. He asked me, so what do you do if you have to pray and you're in a plane? You got to pray 5 times a day, right? And so I explained to him that, this is a vehicle, transportation, and we have something that gives us a guideline, right? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he would pray even on his donkey. So if a Chinese guy here, a donkey and a prophet and things like that, it's like, what? And this sort of thing made it interesting for them, because it's like you're talking about from some time from 1400 years ago. And before we knew it, subhanAllah, the trust level that they had, it was all based on the fact that I was willing to be transparent. Even whenever they came and said, if Islam is so good, then why did these Muslims do X, Y, and Z? Whatever they saw in the news, right? Then we had to deal with that, right? Can't get away from it. It's not all peaches, right? I can't just, everything's beautiful. Well, these are people, these are people. Do you represent Buddhism? If a Buddhist does something, is that Buddhism, right? So they have to, I remember his wife, they were very wealthy. And his wife mentioned, why did God create people who don't have a dime? They're dying from hunger. Why would God even create people like that? And subhanAllah, in these opportunities, there was a great relationship, and to the point that one of his sons graduated from high school. He asked me to go to their family gathering. And we gained a sense of trust. And the day I quit, it's because I wanted to go and study the Arabic language in Egypt. And I sat down with them, and after a lot of success, alhamdulillah, and we worked, and their business flourished, and I was able to become that 5-6 times more productive than I was. I realized these people were geniuses. Okay, at the very beginning, my experience did not allow me to see that. It was gold in front of me, these people, but I could only see the external. Sometimes we do that with parents, right? They tell us something, we may not have the experience, and we think it's just their attitude, the way that they talk to us. They may not trust us. Why do they always have to talk to me like that? That's natural, right? But later on, become a father, right? Such as myself, I realize I'm saying the same things to my kids now. You become that because of that level of experience. So, in the issue of becoming a person who tries to implement, for a new Muslim, sometimes we're like naive, like a little kid, little kid, you tell them do this, and you just do it, You see a hadith, you see an ayah, it's like, we just gotta do it, that's it, it's in the deen. That's it. It may have been out of the way of being naive and approaching things of, I have no clue about anything to do with Islam, just become Muslim, that every little detail we want to implement. you know, and that may seem good, but it may also break an individual, because you can't be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, right? And so in this whole learning process, the beauty of it is that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us the deen of Islam, whether from birth, whether we were born in a Muslim family, or whether we embraced Islam. But the differentiating factor here is that you've been given something that Allah chose specific and unique people to obtain, which is this deen, right? Only Allah guides people, right? Just like many people have eyes, but some people don't have sight, right? So many people have bodies, have hearts, have minds, but not everyone has this essence of life, you know, which is the dynamic sense of Islam. So as you continue in your, you know, growth, professional growth, and as you go through high school, college, and then you go back into the workforce, you're going to have to look at yourself as a change agent, as a person who actually aspires to make some change in life. And this has to be a specific attitude, because if we look at things as, you know, things are what they are, and I am who I am, and I do what I do, and that's it, that's a very short-lived life, you know. People who live this way do not live happy, okay? What profession you choose and what you do is different than who you are. A lot of people are confused on the fact that because they are a lawyer, for example, right? That is who they are, right? They are a lawyer. Your profession, right, is to practice law. Yes, you may be a lawyer in a specific capacity, but you have so many other roles. That lawyer is going to be a father, right? He's going to be a son. He's going to be a mentor to someone trying to get into law. He's going to be a friend. So we have to look at this issue of learning the deen of Islam in a way that we have a filter as to how we view life, but at the same time we try our level best to change that which needs to be changed, and be part of that which is good and established, by working with people who are like-minded, by working with people who have specific goals. This is the part where I really need your participation, okay? I'm going to mention 7 specific points that really will help any human being in regards to succeeding in this life and the next. And what I want you to do is, when I mention this word, I want you to go back into Salah at 3:30?
Yeah.
In 10 minutes, okay. Right, so we'll try to do this as soon as, inshallah, in the fastest manner possible. So I'm going to mention a word, and right away, whatever strikes you from the Quran and the Sunnah that go in accordance to this word, come out with it, okay? So number 1, action. What from the Quran or the Sunnah comes to mind when you hear the word action?
They're by their intentions.
What's that?
They're by their intentions.
Actions are based on intentions. MashaAllah, excellent, okay? So this is great. So action is based on intentions. Therefore, if you take some time and really try to understand your motives as to why you do something, and inshallah try to have the best intention that is in accordance to what Allah and His Messenger set down, not only is it something mundane that you're doing on a daily basis, but it becomes an act of worship. And that is key. Excellent. Next word, vision. What comes to mind from the Quran and the Sunnah regarding vision? Yeah.
Yeah, a blind man is a man who lacks insight, not sight.
A what man?
A blind man is
A-
the man
Okay, a blind man
is the man who lacks insight, not sight.
is the man who lacks insight, not sight. MashaAllah. That's a wise statement. So this is like basira, right? This is vision with the heart. Yeah, mashallah. Excellent. Alhamdulillah. That is internal, right? And that's the premise or the very beginning, right? However, that individual who has this element of insight, we hope as human beings that he actually paint a picture for us, an actual vision. So when it comes to vision of the heart, it has to do, when it comes to action, it has to do a lot with courage. Acting based upon what you see. Sometimes people don't see a certain thing, but if you have that certainty and insight, you have to act upon it. Therefore, a leader or a person who leads or steps in front of the people to be able to take people to a better place or to get them outside of the area of difficulty that they find themselves in. A person who has insight or vision knows the way. So he sees what needs to be accomplished or where we have to go. He knows the way, he goes the way. So he acts upon what he sees, right? He or she. He goes the way. He becomes an example because he's not only seeing it, but he's going that way. And he shows the way. He's able to look back at the people and be able to articulate for them how to get there. So vision, very important. And we'll do this last one here, right before breaking. Sacrifice. Last word, sacrifice. What comes to mind? From the Quran or the Sunnah? Sacrifice. No sacrifice in the Deen of Islam? No blueprint for that?
وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم.
Speak up.
وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم, and they strive with their physical actions and also their wealth.
Jay. So the issue of striving, exhorting, right? That the resources basically has to do a lot with sacrifice. Did the Prophet sacrifice anything? Yes. Do great people in the world sacrifice things to do great things? Has anyone done something great and significant that demands no sacrifice whatsoever? No. Therefore, sacrifice has to be taken, dead on. Whenever you are in the midst of difficulty and you're seeing that you feel at loss, you're about to give up, you are losing time, you are losing sometimes even friends that are not good friends. You are losing so much, but yet you're so certain about where you're going. In that moment, when you're just about to give up, is when you actually rise. That's where you actually become a person of character and a person that others look towards in order to show the way. And this has been exhorted and it has been shown throughout the times from this beautiful deen. All of the Sahaba, all of the prophets and messengers in the past have exhorted great sacrifice. Some of them even the greatest sacrifice, right? Which is the people at the very beginning of the revelation of Islam, right? They sacrificed, sometimes even lost their lives, right? Sacrificed. And because of that sacrifice, today we're able to know about Islam and we're Muslim. It was that sacrifice. So, real quick, we have gone mentioning these words, and I would like for you to come up with something that comes to mind from the Quran and Sunnah. Right? For action, vision, sacrifice. Fourth, risk. Risk in English, right? No, risk. Risk. Okay? What do you know from the Quran and Sunnah that comes to mind? It's on risk.
Badr.
So here, can't play. Huh?
The Battle of Badr. The Battle of Badr. They went out.
The Battle of Badr?
Instead of staying inside Medina, they went out.
Instead of staying inside Medina. Okay. How does that translate to life?
They saw. I mean,
How does that translate to your life?
They made a statement.
Huh?
They made a statement.
They made a statement?
They showed they showed no, they didn't show no fear, but they showed courage.
They showed, okay, no fear and courage. Why Badr? Why Badr? What is risky specifically about the battle
They had like 300 people.
They had like-
Quraysh was the top tribe in all of Arabia.
They had like 600?
Well, it was like 1 versus a million, man.
1 versus a million? Okay.
Literally.
So the risk factor was at the highest level, right? The highest stake. I mean, they may be undernumbered, therefore they may lose not just the battle, but I mean lose their lives, right? Can anyone really do something amazing without any risk involved? No? Wall Street is all about risk, right? Supposedly. People who go into business, do they face some risk? And I'm talking to y'all like, right? People who are going to go into the workforce. Do you know of any business owner that went into business and was not facing a risk? There's always the possibility of risk. Now, how can you look at the issue of risk in regards to what you do? You have to look at this issue regarding obviously being smart about your risk, right? You always want to minimize, right? Minimize your losses, right? You want to be smart and you want to gain, a lot from your time or whatever it is that you're doing, have a return, right? So risk is not just being, because there's so much risk involved in something, I'm just going to do it, it's great. No, it takes intelligence, right? You take calculated risk, calculate your risk. And yeah, I'll take this risk because the return is so much more valuable, right? Just yesterday, I was telling one of the brothers in Generation Jam, a girl, actually we did Generation Jam, Abu Bakr Siddiq over here, and a non-Muslim girl came, who's been coming, and she's only 17. She just turned 17 from a high school, and she drove all the way out here, non-Muslim, just because she's been liking the whole issue of expression and Generation Jam. Well, 3 days ago, she took her Shahada, alhamdulillah. So yesterday, she just came to Andalusia for the first time as a Muslim. And it was great risk involved taking her Shahada. One of them is the loss of a good relationship with her parents. Is that not a great risk? Okay. Her father does not want her to wear hijab, thinks she will be oppressed. The mother is just like heartbroken that she became Muslim. So people go through great sacrifice, right? And they risk a lot, even to step forward and, mashallah, begin the process that you already have been blessed to be a part of. Okay, number 5, determination. Determination. In the Quran and Sunnah, what do you see in regards to this process of determination? That was a good example, by the way. Battle of Badr was good, mashallah. Please. Determination. Anyone? You know why this exercise is important? Because there's many books out there in regards to what it is that your fields call you to study. If you look at secular sciences and you look at things from a secular level, and you don't look at that through the lens of going back to what you know from revelation, from the Quran and Sunnah, you'll benefit secularly, but you won't be connected to something that is the origin or the source of even these secular studies. Because what is science? I mean, it's a study of Allah's creation, right? All these different dynamics in regards to, it can be economics, it can be anything. I mean, even the Prophet ﷺ was a merchant himself, right? Whatever field you can look at, I mean, you see Islam even brought some new fields in the mix, like astronomy and others, that didn't exist before because of the Quran being revealed. So you want to look at things from the lens of a Muslim, meaning you look at whatever you study, but you always go back to what you remember, from the Quran and Sunnah. This way you always have a universal view of things, right? So if you look at determination, you can read this, book and you can say, yeah, someone spoke about determination, it's a positive value. But if you don't go back to your repertoire, whatever you've been built with from all these classes and all these khutbahs that you heard and everything, right? You have to question that, go back to it, right? So determination. Who was determined? Who was determined in doing what? the Prophet ﷺ, how do we know he was determined? What one action shows his realm of determination? What comes to mind?
Basically said, if you gave me this,
I'm sorry. I know you're gonna have something. But we would need somebody else, like someone. Yes, sister.
During the siege, when he had to like not starve, but he didn't eat a lot, so he showed his son and he had 2 rocks. So actually starved.
There you go. So he was determined to achieve, right, something to the point that he was going through a lot of hardship, and even tying these rocks, it shows that they were going through this issue of starvation, which is it's a motivating factor to get someone to say, forget it, right? I need to eat something. I need to just be right, and then they give in and compromise on something. So being determined sometimes brings out a stronger will than even the physical, right? One of the aspects of determination is the Prophet's determination to establish the aspect of Tawheed, right? For good amongst humanity. What was that one action that represents that?
Are we still on determination?
Yes, it's toward that. He took until 4?
No, yeah, you're good. You're good. I wanted to contribute.
Okay, yes, alhamdulillah. Yes.
Hijrah.
What's that?
Hijrah.
Hijrah. Okay, mashallah. They left the area of comfort, or let's just say where they were brought up, they had their homes and everything, and their families, belongings, and then they left because they were determined for something. The Prophet he cleaned the house of Allah, right, the Kaaba. Right? This was a fragmented view of how to worship. 360 little particles, right? That's how to worship. Allah Azza wa Jalla made it to where the victory of Allah came whenever this was cleaned away. Right? And Surah Al-Qasam, right, was revealed in a way that we know that we knew that his mission was being accomplished. Some of the Sahaba, when they saw this being revealed, they realized that the Prophet's mission is pretty much over and he was about to go back to Allah. So anyway, determination, alhamdulillah. Number 6, service. This should be easy. So let's get these 2 real quick. Service. Anything. Right? Okay, so enjoining good and forbidding what is evil. So this is translated to service in modern day. Whenever we realize or spot what is good, right, and try to get away from what is wrong, and not only that, but try to help it in something that is good. Good. Okay, so service is number 6, and number 7, last, is integrity. Integrity. The value of integrity. What do we know? From the Quran and the Sunnah. Yes.
The Prophet ﷺ said that he was sent to perfect good character, which is related.
MashaAllah. So the Prophet ﷺ was sent to perfect manners, to have good manners, right? The issue of integrity is something that is won over a period of time, right? If somebody does something right one day, it's good, It's an action, you see it. But when the individual continues doing the good and then he's forced to cut corners, and lie a little bit to get here, and do a little, and he stands on what is right over a period of time, people not only gain trust, right? They actually gain a sense of respect because he or she has integrity. They live based on principles, right? And to conclude on this, I would mention to you that in America, right, to make it relevant here, as you go into the workforce, as you go and deal with friends, as you go and deal with society in general, you want to make sure that your Islamic identity gives you the sense of integrity based on values. Because no matter what religion people are from, they will respect you if you respect yourself. And you let people know you respect yourself when you hold to certain values. No matter who they are, they will look and say, they may not agree sometimes with what you believe, but if you stick to that, right, they'll respect you for it. Because you show integrity in the way that you do things. And then whenever you coincide with some area of interest, you may even be able to work with people. Tayyib, inshallah. So with that, we'll take, anyway, to recap here, we as the people of faith bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, should look at this deen of Islam as something not only based on theory, but based on action, right? And action in 7 different stages, let's say, of development, build up an individual to be able to do something great. To recap, number 1, action, obviously, based on intentions, as the brother mentioned, this is the best way to go about it, right? And vision not just by seeing, but from the heart, basira, insight, right? And not only just seeing something that is good, but then being able to take others with you through that vision, right? Walking the path and then bringing others on. Sacrifice. Anything you believe in takes great sacrifice, okay? And you have to work to the point that you may lose something to gain something. Risk. Not everything that, pays great dividends and benefit in life comes without something possibly being lost if you pursue it, right? So you have to determine how to take your risk. Determination. If you have a passion for something and you really love doing something, you will be determined to do that. Number 6 is service. All of this on an individual level is good, but if you don't apply that to other people, right, you will lessen the amount of benefit that you actually can have as an individual to others and even for yourself, because when you benefit others, you really benefit yourself a whole lot. You grow. Number 7, integrity. That you continue basically based on those principles. With this, we conclude, and I don't want to take except like a few minutes, maybe like a couple of minutes. If there's any quick question from a brother, from a sister. Any questions? How long have you been here since? Today? Since 11? Okay, question. 10, 11. Jay, any question? At all? No? Okay, so I asked you 2 questions. What was this about today? To the brother, let me ask.
Having a practical application.
Having practical application. Excellent. And one of the sisters who hasn't mentioned. Yes, sister. How to accept success and failure. Alhamdulillah. This is, these were some words, alhamdulillah, of advice, first and foremost to myself. And hopefully, inshallah, you take some of this and realize that even though these are nice words here and there, and we look at some of the ayat from the Quran and Sunnah, it's really about a way of life, right? It's a process. It is not just a final destination, it's a process. So with that, I would like to thank you once again. And Brother Zahir was asking if we could do Generation Jam here one day. If you guys would like, inshallah, you can take some of these 4x6s here that talk a little bit about what's happening over there in Andalusia. I know that some people wanted to get some information or so we had some of these. And we have some Islamic Spanish 4x6s here in case you know someone who speaks Spanish and you would like to share the message of Islam with. A lot of the da'wah, let's say, in Spanish has happened from people who don't even speak Spanish by giving something like this to someone or a CD or something. So never underestimate, a small action, because a small action leads to great success. And just to conclude with a happy, alhamdulillah, anecdote, I was in Dallas and a Mexican guy came up in a masjid and he said, I just became Muslim a few months ago. A Moroccan guy gave me a CD. I didn't even know it was from you guys. Somebody told me that a Spanish guy was speaking at this mosque today. I came, and when I saw the table, I saw the CD that I was handed. And that was the first time I ever heard about Islam, and I became Muslim a couple of months back. So you see that it was a Moroccan guy, okay, who didn't speak Spanish. So I would just say that not only just with this project, but any other project, something you have a passion on. Join the people who are doing the good. Be sure that if someone's doing something, help them, or at least refrain from speaking about any deficiencies. There's three types of people in the world, and I'll end with this. People who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and the third are those who wonder what happened. So you gotta choose from these 3 groups. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.